Okay, so I'm not even capping. I swear this is a pretty interesting chapter, at least for two reasons. One of them kind of confusing, but maybe the hive mind has already decided what the right answer is on that. But just give me some time, and I swear I'll adopt whatever you guys have decided is the correct take. But as you guessed it, we're continuing the all-for-one fight here against the Extras, which is actually the title of this chapter. So let's get into it. The chapter begins with Endeavor wounded on the ground. So in the previous chapter, all-for-one hit Endeavor with like his Resident Evil arm with these spikes coming out of it. He was actually wounded in a similar fashion that we saw All Might at the beginning of the series, you know, coming off of his big grand battle with All for One 6 years ago. He wonders if Shoto and Dabi are okay and tries to get up, but then falls down again. So we are seeing a panel of Dabi here, but I'm pretty sure it's just a flashback. We're not getting any updates on what's going on with Dabi, what the light coming out of his chest is. Is it a quirk awakening? Is he getting ice powers? Or is it a quirk bomb? Still don't know yet, but I'm still hoping that he's exploding here because I don't want him to have a redemption or a quirk awakening because he doesn't deserve it. He recognizes that it was wrong to get angry with All for One because the one responsible for this battle and these wounds is himself. Cut back to the sky with Hawks stating that he was able to feel through his feathers that the attack narrowly missed Endeavor's lung. In other words, he could still fight, and Hawks will proceed with the plan based on this. Tokoyami gets angry with his master and says that he was sent to this area precisely to provide air support, so it makes no sense to tell him to get out. Hawks acknowledges his mistake and asks, "Save me one more time, hero." So yeah, coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Tokoyami show up with Jiro on his back, flying around with air support. In fact, as soon as they showed up, they wound up saving Hawks from a huge air blast from All for One. All for One says he can't waste much time and begins to transform his entire arm. In his thoughts, he deduces that Endeavor is not dead, and the other three will try to stall for time until his return. Interesting. Is he kind of telling us how it's going to play out, or is this a misdirect? I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it would be cool if Endeavor like Goku Raditz All for One like he did Shigaraki in the previous war and then just prominence burns him point blank. That would be, you know, a little repetitive, but it is possible that Endeavor winds up taking out All for One here, possibly at the cost of his life. But I do think that if All for One's body at least is killed here, or his mask completely breaks off and he starts suffocating, then in theory he would be able to just transfer to Shigaraki's body again. It hasn't fully been explained how like the All for One Wi-Fi stuff works, but we're clearly going to get more into that stuff in the next couple chapters. Hey, also guys, if you like my Hero content, please subscribe. A lot of you consistently watch these videos, but you don't subscribe, and that's fine. But if you needed a reminder, here you go. Thank you. He says that the two birds are a problem, and the best way to destabilize them is to attack Jiro. So he sends several eel-looking creatures in her direction. However, Hawk sends her up with his feathers and cuts off the attack before it hits her. He then sends these feathers towards All for One's masks and hits it again with his swords, but it's still not enough. So yeah, Hawks has like real swords now. They're not like his long feather swords anymore. Tokoyami holds Jiro and tells her that the mask is the target, that destroying it with sound will bring their victory. Jiro has an intense expression and is shaking. She says that she has determination to spare, but was barely able to see the attack launched towards her. She then realizes that Midoriya and Aoyama were constantly fighting this fear. All for One realizes that she is trembling and starts to tease her, saying that she must have gone to the battlefield with a student's mindset. Then he turns his arm into a cannon, much bigger than his own body, and shoots it in the direction of the two, and says that the supporting characters have dreamed too big. Hawks tries to stop it, but is hit by the rivet stabs coming out of his fingers of All for One's other hand. Tokoyami and Jiro are injured, bleeding, and with torn clothes. It is then she begins to say that things like fear, strength, and weakness make no difference at all. Her friends have cried because of what All for One did, and that it is all that matters to Jiro. She shouts all this with tears in her eyes and launches a heartbeat sound legato, which hits All for One. Okay, so as it said, she's getting injured here, but what's not being mentioned in these spoilers is that she's straight up losing an ear. Like in the leaked panels of this chapter, we're straight up seeing that her left ear is completely gone, along with like the earlobe and everything. So she's down half a quirk at this point. So this is a huge development, especially for like a student to be receiving damage like this. I'm sure you've heard it, you know, a few times maybe throughout the community, but there's like this sentiment that like Jump won't allow students students to be maimed or hurt or stuff like that. But like, why? Because it always happens in other series, and we've seen it happen plenty in this series too. But usually it's like a stab or a cut or something, but this is like straight up maimery. And it makes me wonder, like, wow, is this gonna just end with her, or are other students going to get maimed too? Because that's kind of like the theme of what's going on with these wars. Maimery and nerfage. But I don't think all hope is lost, of course. We still do have Eri, who can just, rewind her ear. But we'll talk about Eri in a little bit, actually. Despite being hit, All For One says that it was too weak. But just as he is about to strike back, he feels people grabbing his body inside the vestige world. He realizes that they are the quirks he has stolen over the years. He wonders if it is the work of New Order, but no, the weakness of an extra has reverberated within him, causing this effect. Okay, so here we go. Not sure if I have the right take on this. Again, I don't know what the hive mind has decided is the correct answer here. But in the leaked panels, when he is saying this, we see a quirk vestige of a woman grabbing him, and there's a close-up on her face, and it looks like she has the same horn that Eri does. And I guess she kind of resembles Eri as well. Now, obviously, it's not Eri because the age, and we know that All For One didn't take Eri's quirk, at least yet. So who is this? Well, not really sure. Either this horn just coincidentally resembles Eri along with the woman, and there's no correlation there, or it is somehow related to her. It's possible she's one of Eri's ancestors, and there's going to be like this whole big reveal coming where All For One was involved in Eri's life too the whole time. Because why not? He's got to be involved in everything, right? But that doesn't necessarily connect to Eri's quirk rewind, because it was explicitly stated that it's like a variant quirk similar to Decay, meaning that it was born with her. It didn't come as a result of like hereditary lineage or anything like that. None of her relatives or parents or ancestors are implied to have had the rewind quirk in any way. But it is possible that the horn thing that she has did belong to one of her ancestors or something. That's also interesting because the horn seems to be directly tied to her rewind magic, because it has like a stockpiling aspect to it. Not really sure, but please let me know what the correct take on this is. While he is stunned, Jiro shouts at Hawks to take his chance. He remembers the 3 blows he landed against the mask throughout the battle and notices a crack. He then uses Jiro's attack to pick up even more speed and hits him with everything, breaking both his swords and a piece of All For One's mask. End of chapter. So yeah, we see like a kind of a large portion of the front of All For One's mask break off here, and it reveals, a good part of his potato face. I don't think this is enough to cause him to suffocate, because I'm sure there's still enough to keep him breathing or whatever, but it's a step in the right direction for sure, and I do think that this mask will be the inevitable downfall of All For One here, since it's been mentioned so much. But like I said, he could always just, Wi-Fi hop to Shigaraki, which is inevitable in my opinion. But I'm not sure if he can like still live without his main body. Again, it still needs to be explained, but let me know what you think about all of this stuff in the comments, guys. If you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.